Hey, welcome back to the Saga, the Clone Saga. This is a podcast presented by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D., where we talk about the entirety of the 1990s Clone Saga, Spider-Man Clone Saga. I'm Matt, and today I'm joined by my friends.
I'm Mike.
And I am Vincent. And our sponsor today is issue 4 of Fantastic Four Unlimited, which I picked up between this episode and last because this issue features a date between Johnny Storm and Lyja in her undercover Laura Green identity. And I read it. It's not abysmal. It's bad. And who's the writer? It all connects. Mike Lackey, our favorite intern.
But Vince, I was talking the other day. How many single issues have you bought since returning to your homestead in Philadelphia?
My local store has this crazy deal going on where it's like 75% off sticker price. So I'm just filling up holes for bindings eventually. So here's a bag.
What?
He had them ready to go. We didn't even plan on doing this.
Well, they're kind of just in the corner. Here's a bag. Here's a bag.
What are you buying?
Valiant.
This right here is all Swamp Thing.
Oh, tight.
Well, that ties into this week's episode because we are going to talk about some Muckmen.
Yep. In here, I've got Body Doubles, which is a spinoff of Resurrection Man by Abnett and Lanning. I don't know. I don't want to go through all of these. Here's a bag. Here's a bag. Here's a bag.
Wait, you're not just taking the same bag and doing the same thing over, are you?
No.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
Well, I'll leave it up to the viewers. Oh, fuck it all fell. Here's a bag. All right, that's it.
Just loop this.
For those watching at home, if you can accurately guess the amount of comics in each of those bags, Vince will send you something in the mail.
Yep.
News.
Just send me your address and your social security number. All right. So moving on to the far less exciting stuff, which is what we're actually talking about today.
Yeah.
You know how the Scarlet Spider titles were finished? They're not. So today we're talking about the Nightmare in Scarlet arc. And after this, we will be officially finished with this short period. And this episode, we are also covering our final issue of New Warriors. Thank God.
I wish I would have went out and bought the extra money that I was going to do. I was going to buy one of those cap firework things to pop up for the confetti pops out, but I forgot to.
So first we have Web of Scarlet Spider number 3, and the cover text it's Firestar and Scarlet Spider, whatever, in the sky, and it says the fury of Firestar. Me, I'd rather be reading about the fury of Firestorm, which at this point in 1996, Firestorm is in extreme justice, and I would still take that over this.
Not as cool as Total Justice, but you do own 13 pounds of Firestorm comics, though.
Way cooler. So this is DeFalco and DeFalco and DeZago wrote the previous 2 issues of this dumb fill-in series, since they've been the team on Web up to this point. But these 2 issues of Web of Scarlet Spider are written by Evan Skolnick, so it's basically just New Warriors 66.5. And it is being drawn by Paris, insert Greek name.
Yes.
Yep.
And what we're up to over here is the FBI is investigating Doc Ock's destroyed lab. And in particular, they're looking for their undercover agent, Joe Wade. And in the kerfuffle, the Scarlet Spider escapes out of the rubble. And he's running around. And he acts like more of a jerk than usual. It's kind of a shame that Billy's not here for this episode, especially for this first issue or 2.
Well, the thing, if Billy was here for this episode, he would have to change Lil Ben like 3 times.
Yeah, that'd be fine. But initially, the timeline isn't quite certain. I mean, we have to assume because we have to trust Marvel's reading order, even though it's lied to us before with Planet of the Symbiotes. But it's not entirely clear whether this is after Sensational. And our first hint that stuff may be amiss is that Scarlet Spider references FBI agent Briggs used to have a weight problem. And so I was thinking about Amanda Waller for some reason.
We also got a Jenny Craig ad spot.
Yep.
And then he also makes a Howdy Doody reference, which my dad watched that show when he was a kid to give you an idea of how old it is.
And good reference.
Then Scarlet Spider runs around like an actual menace, just fucking with New Yorkers. And I think Billy would have a field day. It's kind of funny. He's like,
I like the part where he strings up all the cars on the bridge.
Yeah. And then the best part is a bunch of cops in a circle point their guns up and try and shoot him. And they end up shooting each other. And they just don't die because they're wearing bulletproof vests. It's not a very flattering depiction of the NYPD in the Marvel Universe.
It is not.
And then the Scarlet Spider transforms in an alleyway, and somehow it's Joe Wade. And he is described as a high-tech Jekyll and Hyde, and he has been infected by nanomachines.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
I was fairly confused at this point. I thought that I had missed something, and Joe, what's his name, Joe Wade? He looks enough like Peter Parker, or Ben, I guess. But I thought he actually was Ben, but no, Ben got his hair dyed and everything. It's obviously not Ben. I'm just stupid. So
I was scared it was going to be another Spider clone out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go again."
Yeah.
So I was like vaguely aware of this character prior to getting to this point in the reading order, so I always thought it was another clone. But I guess we're hopefully past the point where more clones are being introduced.
I hope so.
Desperately.
But yeah, so this Scarlet Spider thing, it's almost like a Hulk type of deal, more like a Gray Hulk, where this Scarlet Spider is just an asshole, and then he and Joe, like, their memories don't exactly line up, and they can't control each other. And he even gets a dumb, almost Venom-like transformation.
It actually reminds me more of the Creeper.
Yeah, some of that, yeah. And so the New Warriors want to track him down to figure out what's up because he's hurting their brand, because the public knows that Scarlet Spider is a New Warrior.
Not because he's being a public menace, because he's hurting the brand.
Yep. And Firestar is the first to find him at a bridge. He's throwing steel beams at cars. And then he sexually assaults her. And recall that we learned in an earlier issue that Firestar's best friend was a victim of rape. So, I don't know. She's had an unfortunate time.
Yeah, this whole interaction is just extremely uncomfortable.
And when he kisses her against her will, she learns that he's made of metal. So she then blasts the shit out of him with microwaves and burns off his costume. And then
1000.
Yeah, we get the reveal. He's very shiny, and also his eyes glow.
He has this big, dumb red spider on his chest and on his back.
Yeah, but the spider is still like tilted in the way that it is on Ben's hoodie.
Yeah.
He's a big silver hunk of shit is what he is.
I don't hate the design. It's dumb. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. They never fully explain it, though, because it's like he was the virtual reality, and then he gets fused with it. But where does all this metal and then these other powers come from?
Cyberspace. It's the 90s, Vince. You can do anything in cyberspace.
So now we move into New Warrior 67, and I don't understand the point of this cover. It's a dumb silhouette, but the character has already been revealed at the end of the last.
It's supposed to be like a holographic cover or something, because the way it looks with that cutout.
I don't think so.
Just poor design.
This is also Evan Skolnick, who's been the regular New Warriors writer, and Patrick Zurcher. And speaking of the awkward encounter between Firestar and Scarlet Spider last issue, the opening of this issue has some super cringy narration about this attraction between Ben and Firestar that has been alluded to in the New Warrior series, despite the fact that she has a very, very serious boyfriend that she's currently contemplating giving up their superhero careers to start a family because she might get cancer from her ridiculous powers.
He also, we've said it before, she's still in high school, right?
Yeah. I assume she's like a senior or something. I'm not certain. But whatever, they have like this innocent, like minor attraction. But then the explanation in the book is really weird. It's like Firestar reminds Ben of a girl, but I'm not even clear in this narration because earlier in New Warriors, it's like obviously it's MJ because she has red hair, and they like Ben specifically points out, oh, she's hot because I like redheads. But then in this issue, it's like reminds him of a girl that he lost, so it's like Gwen. But I guess you could argue for Ben's context, he also lost MJ because I guess he would have been dating MJ for like a year or so, like 20 issues before he got snatched away and put in a smokestack. But then the perspective of why she's into Ben is way creepier, and creepy even just what it's originally referencing. So in this, it kind of says like, because Ben has a caring, paternalistic nature,
God.
which is just like creepy, like weird, like daddy incest stuff anyways. But the actual reference is like some bodyguard that Firestar knew that like helped or like protected Firestar at the Massachusetts Academy, which was Emma Frost's counter Xavier Institute, because of course Firestar was originally one of the major Hellions before she fucked off and joined the. So just weird, sketchy explanation off the bat. And then Justice shows up just in time to save his girlfriend. And we get this weird shout of the Scarlet Spider saying that superheroes smell like shit.
Yeah. It's
But then we start getting power reveals. He transforms and just starts growing like spines and spikes and uses sonic blasts.
right. Like, I guess he's made out of liquid metal, and he also has sonic blasts, and he also, I guess, has Ben's powers, and I think he has more than that, right? He can do the light thing.
Yeah, he does.
This man has all the powers. He has many powers.
Yep. And then the other New Warriors, the ones that don't matter at this point, because of course Nova, Night Thrasher, all the cool ones, or even Speedball, they're either depowered or fucked off. So we have Powerhouse and Turbo, and Joe runs away and he transforms again. And then we finally see Ben at the daily grind. So it's like, oh, okay, Ben Reilly is still around. He has blonde hair and he has a Spider-Man suit. So this is in the correct reading order.
Right.
And as fucking stupid as these Scarlet Spider books are, a tiny part of me is like, if they wanted to stretch out this stupid Scarlet Spider chunk, I kind of like the way they pull off this gimmick publishing, because it's this stupid fake out where an entire issue you don't see Ben, which is it's stupid, but also like I kind of
it works.
And Ben takes an early lunch at 10:30, and his boss very audibly like just shit talks him
As soon as he leaves.
This kid's irresponsible and I should fire him. And he hears it. Which that made me think, because earlier Ben was a bodyguard and was terrible at that job because he was constantly sneaking off. Peter Parker works very well as a freelancer. He can just take the photos of himself whenever he wants. I mean, he's practically Spider-Man full time, and then he just shows up for like 10 minutes to sell the photos. So Peter Parker actually usually has it pretty good, whereas Clark, he's an on-staff reporter.
Well, Clark is also, he's got super speed, so
yeah, that too. So Ben shows up, and the Warriors assume he's the real Spider-Man, and that starts this dumb subplot where Firestar is like, "Wait, I think I know you."
Oh God.
And Ben keeps accidentally slipping details he knows about the New Warriors.
Yeah, it's fine.
Firestar invites him to help them analyze remains of the Scarlet Spider. And Vance immediately is like, "God damn it, not again. My girlfriend's hitting on a spider." And then we get Speedball picking up from the Ditko tribute issue, New Warriors 66. He's coming back to town from Springdale, bringing Niels the cat, and then the new character Time Slip shows up and picks him up, and then they go to watch his mom on TV, and his apartment is a complete mess, and she reacts to it, but I feel like she should have reacted more. Like, this is not realistic. Even if you're on a superhero team together, a girl shows up in your apartment's like that, she'll be like, "I'll catch you later."
Well, the funny thing you mentioned that is he asks her to go back to his place, and she thinks he's trying to make a move on her.
Yep. I mean, he's not very. I mean, he doesn't fully explain off the bat what he's talking about.
But he's just like, "Hey, I probably have more experience than you," and it was like very weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's just very awkward teenage flirting. And
It is.
Speedball's powers are still freaking out, and then he watches his mom get abducted, held hostage on live TV because she's out there promoting Secret Hospital on daytime talk shows. Which also, they haven't addressed what MJ's acting career, what's going on with that. I guess she hasn't been on Secret Hospital for a while, though.
They probably just wrote her out.
Yeah, because she was unemployed initially when she was pregnant, and then she got that modeling gig. And then I guess now she's moved, even though we haven't seen that fully yet.
The thing is, because with soap operas, if you get killed off, you're never truly dead. But did she get recast? Because it'll be just like the part of this so and so is now played by
Speedball's mom.
Yes. So Speedball runs off to help save his mom, and that's basically the end of this issue. But I want to, since this is our final New Warriors, I want to make a few New Warriors notes. The end of this issue obviously says that this story continues in Web of Scarlet Spider, but then it teases the next issue of New Warriors 68, starts their quotes, dreaded epic Future Shock. And that arc is some time travel bullshit, which reveals that the Speedball, who in this issue is so concerned with his mother, and last issue was so deep into his 80s history and all of those villains, is actually an imposter. And then that imposter dies, and the real Speedball comes back. And so that will be New Warriors 68. And then the book was canceled with New Warriors 75 in late 96. Then a relaunch in 1999 that continued some of the threads of the old series dies like in 10 issues. And then you have all the way until 2005, which that was the reality show miniseries, which led into Civil War, which took more of a comedy angle, which obviously was a teen book originally, so there was some of that, but it wasn't that wasn't the point of the book. And the tone of that book, combined with obviously what it led into with Civil War, I would say definitively ruined the reputation of the New Warriors, and obviously it also killed half of them.
Right. It's a comedy book that ended with them blowing up a school?
Killing children?
Well, that's the thing, is
and them all dying?
I'm not certain that scene actually takes place in the miniseries. I think that's only in the opening of Civil War.
Okay.
I'm not certain on that though. But
so
you could
that's for New Warriors.
You could kind of separate them, but they're pretty inseparable. And then New Warriors Volume 4 is not even really a New Warriors book. It's during the Initiative era, so after Civil War. And it's actually a mutant book in disguise with several post-M-Day depowered characters taking on different identities. And the cast includes Jubilee, Chamber, Beak, and Stacy X. And it's pretty bad. And then
look at that lineup.
New Warriors Volume 5 was a Christopher Yost written series and continued some threads from his own Scarlet Spider book starring Kane, which brings the New Warriors franchise and its connections with Spider-Man and the Clone Saga full circle. Apparently that series is actually pretty great. I haven't gotten around to reading it. The only major issue that people point out is there's a little bit of de-aging of some of the original characters like Speedball. But that was canceled due to low sales, and I would attribute that mostly to just at that point the reputation was so ruined that New Warriors book is niche rather than like one of the top tier teen books. Obviously, it's not like Christopher Yost is a huge name, anyways. Unfortunately,
I mean, Christopher Yost was a pretty big name for Marvel for a few years before he started to leave and do TV and movies.
I mean, he was a good critical name, but he never got any huge books. Like he was always on a like third tier X-Men book. So New X-Men Academy X, and eventually he picked up Amazing X-Men from. I
mean, X-Force was pretty big.
Well, yeah. I guess that was his height. And then Scarlet Spider, obviously very acclaimed as well. And you have to imagine that a new New Warriors book is around the corner any time now because there's a TV show, and I think it's been fully filmed, but no network wants to have it, I guess. And even if there is a comic, who knows what it'll be like, because the show, like the Civil War thing, it's picking up on that angle. So it's comedy based and reality show, and Squirrel Girl is the star. So I don't know if I really want a New Warriors book.
No.
So back to the story. We move into Web of Scarlet Spider number 4, and the cover text says last issue of this series, which is great.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And on the cover, we see Scarlet Spider versus Scarlet Spider, or really Scarlet Spider versus Spider-Man at this point. Same creative team. I thought the art in this issue was total shit.
Yep.
Like even more, like significantly more so even than the previous issue of this, which had the same creative team.
Yep.
And so I'm blaming some of that on rush schedule or whatever. Who knows? And here's a deep reference, and I don't know if this was intentional. So, but it connects so well that I feel like it has to be, but it doesn't fully get integrated. So Speedball shows up on the scene and makes a Zords reference. Specifically, he calls this new Scarlet Spider a Spider Zord. And Zords are the animal mecha toys. It's something not to be confused with the Power Rangers mechas.
You're thinking of Zoids.
Zoids? Okay.
You're not even right. It's Zords are Power Rangers.
Does he say Zord in the comic or Zoid?
He said Zord. He says Zord.
Oh, fuck. All right, fuck. All right, just pretend it's Zoids. So I can.
Zoids wasn't around because Zoids wasn't around until the early 2000s.
No. Zoids is older.
I remember the TV show. The TV show then took a while then, because it was like a weird CGI show.
Yeah. Zoids. All right. So the weird connection, which isn't actually there, but I feel like it still might be, is that in the late 80s, Marvel UK published a title called Spider-Man and Zoids. It was not a crossover. It was just their Spidey reprint magazine, like of US Spidey stories, combined with original Zoid stories. And one of the writers on the Zoid stories was Grant Morrison with his first work for Marvel Comics. And an FBI agent in this issue is named Morrison. So excuse me for thinking this was some super obscure reference, because it connects completely, except that it doesn't.
See, that works. I was actually happy because I thought you were just going to start going off on a tangent about the history of Zoids, and I was like, I don't care.
I don't know anything about Zoids to do that, but
apparently you don't even know what they're called.
Yeah. So with that non-existent reference out of the way, the Warriors and Spidey show up to fight the Scarlet Spider, and he reveals another power, his light attack, which we mentioned. I thought it was kind of cool. The art in this issue sucks, but they showed an effect on Ben's eyes. Obviously, Spider-Man's eyes are always a focal point for how artists interpret the character. When he gets blinded, you see his eyes turn all black and they're like scrunched up, which is kind of cool if the art wasn't shit.
Yeah, it would be neat if it didn't suck. Yeah.
And then Firestar saves him, and he's like, thanks, Angel. He's like, oh, I mean my guardian angel. And so that subplot gets and then Briggs steps in front of the Scarlet Spider and calls out to Joe inside of him. And it's just basically supposed to be one of those scenes where someone calms the Hulk down by appealing to Banner. And then there's this page of that where I think it could be like a nice looking page and an emotional moment, like if this weren't in a totally shitty comic.
I just want to say the sun was getting pretty low when they were fighting.
Yeah, and like fucking Paris Karunos, whatever his name is, he like tries to get experimental with the layout on this page. It's like very montage, and then it's just like the anatomy and everything is just terrible. So then he gets fixed. The FBI snags him up, and I bet you were wondering whether we will ever see this Scarlet Spider again.
Nope, I wasn't.
No, I definitely was.
Unfortunately, we don't see him again in the Clone Saga, but we do see him again in this podcast. Wait,
time out. Because you said we have to do an arc of like Brand New Day. Is this the character that shows up in Brand New Day?
No. The Brand New Day is the Brand New Day character related to Ben is an original character that gets retconned in.
Okay.
But this Scarlet Spider allegedly shows up in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, number 9, which is the first issue proper of Spider-Verse.
What?
And I don't know how that fully works. I assume it has to be a one-panel like cameo. But it's Spider-Verse. You gotta get them all in there.
I'm gonna have to
say they had them all though, right?
I'm gonna pull that out after the podcast and look for him.
Yeah, it's number 9. Yeah, you should do it because I literally just sold like the books where I had Spider-Verse. So
I've got it over there. I'll look for it.
All right, we will
have the hardcover.
We will report back next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the ending is basically Justice putting over Ben by saying he's a true hero as Ben flies away, and it's this really corny scene. But he questions whether their Scarlet Spider, the one in the New Warriors, was a Spider-Man, like whether he properly filled the role or whatever. And then Firestar says, time will tell, because of course the stupid subplot, she knows that Spider-Man is Ben now. Well, she doesn't know Ben, but
it's whoever this new guy is. Yeah.
And she says, time will tell as we get a splash page of Ben swinging away. So it's like, hey, give this Spider-Man a chance. Maybe he'll be good.
Yeah, sure.
Remember how we enjoyed last episode, and this time I was like, it's probably a pile of shit coming? Yeah, it was a pile of shit coming.
So with the identity switch up, I guess Ben is no longer an official member of the Warriors since the Scarlet Spider was the member. But he'll continue to occasionally pop in that series, I guess. But he's no longer listed as a team member. But thankfully, we're no longer worrying about that.
No.
Thank God.
And speaking of a pile of shit, these issues become a sentient character in the next one.
Yep. But real quick, I want to just just back to the Scarlet Spider thing. So the whole Scarlet Spider period, I've seen some conflicting research. It possibly was supposed to only be a month, so just one issue of all of them, but it got extended out due to marketing, of course. And obviously, it's totally filler. Like, nothing important happened here. And the whole Scarlet Spider interlude, so all of these retitled comics, were apparently skipped over entirely by the UK Spider-Man reprints, which just come out every week and reprint all of the Spider-Man comics. And so I don't know if they were confused because the books were differently titled, but they just skipped this whole era.
Imagine the UK, everything's on fire. Oh my god, what happened?
All right, so yeah, now Matt, you want to lead us into our final little coda for this episode?
By Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that's right. This issue is the return of the Spectacular Spider-Man. So Spec is back, and this little story called Death by DK, and it features a great new villain named DK.
And it's not Donkey Kong.
It's not Donkey Kong. It's a pile of muck.
Yep. DK is a muck monster, like my boy Swampy here.
Yeah.
Or like Man-Thing.
Or like Man-Thing.
And the credits here, it's the usual DeSago and Buscema, but Bill Sienkiewicz is officially gone, and Jimmy Palmiotti is inking this issue.
I mean, he's been gone for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of popped in and out. There were a few issues where it was like Sienkiewicz and Palmiotti juggling it. So with a muck monster, as may be expected, we get an environmentalism story.
Yep.
And it's in like a sort of, it's not quite black and white, but like a faded color scheme, which I kind of like. I feel like that was almost a throwback to old monster comics.
Yeah. Honestly, just this story in general, I feel was kind of a throwback.
Yeah.
Because it has this like message, but it doesn't go really into much detail at all about the message. And then it just gets wrapped up very cleanly.
Yes.
I thought this issue, I mean, it was decent. I kind of enjoyed this issue.
I kind of liked it, yeah.
So in this kind of sepia tone flashback scene, some inspection type guys are checking out a chemicals company that has been disposing improperly, and then they blow the fuck up. And Spidey's swinging around, and he runs into a muck monster. Well, actually, a chair gets thrown at him. And the monster is in search of the chemicals owner. And unlike certain monsters of this type, like Man-Thing, he's totally intelligible. And Spidey also corrects us that this is a Guck monster.
Okay.
What's the difference between muck and guck?
There's no difference. Spidey just says Guck the entire issue. And so this monster, it can decompose everything it touches with chemical stuff. And he's tracking down the owner of the chemicals company. So Spidey goes to protect the guy. And there's this page where the monster breaks into the office of the CEO. And I kind of like that page. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a neat image. I like how Gemma draws DK, which is a terrible name, but
yeah,
it looks cool.
Well,
yeah,
what's weird is like we have this like the beginnings of this fight, and then we cut to the daily grind where Ben's boss is just talking to her son, and it's like a full page that's just devoted to nothing.
Yeah. The like end of the page is like, oh, he wasn't listening to her the whole time because he was watching TV. So I was expecting some like reveal or like connect through on the TV where it's like, oh, a muck monster is running around. But he was just watching cartoons or something.
Yeah.
So, like, where's the connection? Is this supposed to be like just a one-off comedic page just thrown into the rhythm?
You need an extra page. Just throw that in there.
So his name is DK because his original name is David Kalin, but he's no longer David Kalin, so just the initials. Just really stupid. And of course, as we joked, I just associate DK with Donkey Kong. So it would be way cooler if Spider-Man fought Donkey Kong.
Oh, I want to read that book.
Coming this summer from Marvel, Spider-Man versus Donkey Kong.
Also, unlike most muck monsters, DK can entirely control his abilities and also transform right back into a human form incredibly convincingly.
Yep.
There's like
Seemingly
some
at
mention,
will.
yeah, there's like some mention that it kind of puts a strain on him, and the muck is still his default state.
The Guck.
But it's not super dramatic. And he also conveniently has a ton of evidence to put this chemicals guy away, but he wants to kill him anyways. And then, as a hero should, Spidey talks some sense into him and stops him. And then our favorite guys from Ravencroft show up to haul DK away. And just like we talked with Joe Wade, I bet you guys were wondering whether DK ever shows up again.
Not quite as much.
More so, actually, for me.
DK will show up one last time, but
yeah.
unfortunately, it will not be on the podcast. It's in Sensational Spider-Man 18 by DeZago and Waringo after the Clone Saga.
Okay.
So, and then I don't know his conclusion at the end of that. He might die or go back to Ravencroft, something like that. Also, I just want to real quick. So when Ravencroft shows up, it's Man-Wolf, which is Jameson, and Vermin, whatever his name is, Whelan or something. And they're like, oh, we can help you out because we know exactly what you're through. And artistically, that's totally an excuse to put like a silhouette of Man-Wolf and Vermin behind them. Because like, what if you don't know who Man-Wolf is? But whatever. So that was basically that whole episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
This was a pretty lackluster episode. There's nothing really much for me to say.
I kind of liked the DK story.
Yeah, that was fine, but like it was just so one-off and one note that I was just like, whatever. I'm happy that we're finally done with the New Warriors.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to miss Vance.
I mean, we'll see. I'm not certain, but we'll see if they show up again.
It doesn't matter. We don't have to read another issue of New Warriors.
Yep. All right. So next episode, we'll see if it's exciting. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how to have my expectations. We'll be reading 2 miniseries. One is Ben Reilly hanging out with the Punisher, and one is one of the countless 90s Venom miniseries where Ben Reilly and Venom come across each other again.
Okay, this has the primes of being good because every time Venom has showed up, we've enjoyed it.
Did we enjoy Planet of the Symbiotes?
We enjoyed it. We had fun with it. There was enough where we said we had fun with it.
Honestly, I've forgotten that story. I think just much as Marvel.
I think anytime Venom has shown up, it's been like a 100% like at least enjoyable / fun track record.
Yeah.
The stories might be terrible, but we had fun reading them. Looking at the cover of Spider-Man Punisher Family Plot, Punisher's got a ponytail. That could be bad.
And I think the last time we saw Punisher, maybe the only time, wasn't super exciting either. That was
pretty boring.
That was when they were like attempting to do like a Amazing Spider-Man 129 reunion with
right.
Punisher and Jackal, but they got the number wrong by a few issues. So thanks for watching and tune into next episode. Peace.
Get home safe.